Have the Canadian premiers gone rogue and wild, or is this some sort of orchestrated plan? Welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie B. This is where we debrief and discuss pop culture and politics from an independent perspective. And if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends because it's hard to get my name out in Commie Canada. So let's get into it. So we're just going to listen to this. I started, deep diving into Wab Kinew last night, and this was the first video that popped up.
Could actually be a former rapper and convict. Wab Kinew is a leader of the NDP, and in the past, he's written lyrics about slapping women's genitalia, driving under the influence, assaulting a taxi driver, and allegedly his former girlfriend too. And as of right now, the poll suggests that he's in the lead to win the race, and he believes that he has something positive to contribute since he's made good.
So, first of all, I would like to say Wab Kinew and his musical talents, he should have stayed in music. His song was pretty good. If that's the Wab Kinew that comes up on Spotify, that's a pretty decent song. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. But can we just picture for one moment here, if PierrePoilievre acted or did this in the past, what he would be painted as? For real, honestly, can we just think about that for a minute? Because would PierrePoilievre be held to the same standard as Wab Kinew? Would he be allowed to say that he changed his life, he's no longer that person, or would they hold it against him for forever? I'm going with probably hold it against him for forever. So let's move on here. Wab Kinew first caught my eye when he did not fire that woman for saying that Charlie Kirk deserved what happened to him. Even though she is, the director or minister of families and services in Manitoba, which is crazy. And if I were a conservative that was dealing with the family service program, I would certainly bring that up and ask them how they are separating their biases that they clearly have against conservatives and their families, when the person who runs the place is vehemently against conservatives so much that when they are unalived for potentially having those views, she is okay with that. So, and not only is okay with it, but cheers it on. So, and says that she offers no empathy. So when Wab Kinew didn't fire her, I started looking into Wab Kinew even more. And especially during this time where he is backing up Mr. Ford and Mr. Ford's decision to spend $75 million taxpayers' dollars into the American market, even if it's advertising, that's a lot of our tax dollars to be okay with going into the American market, by the way.
Was directly in front of me. I saw Wab at that point extend his hand, grab his hand, and pull it into his body. He locked his elbow, and I could see the tension in his hand that he had gripped in sort of like a really strong grip of his hand. He leaned forward. His face was twisted and contorted. He was angry and agitated, and he was doing most of the talking. I could see MLA Khan's face was shocked and horrified. I could see him physically lean back away from Wab Kinew, and I could see him trying to pull his hand away and release his grip. And it was clear that Wab Kinew was not allowing him to release the grip and was holding him in place until he had finished saying to him what he had said.
So then this guy, it's a 7-minute video. I couldn't download it. I had to screen record this from TikTok. And it's a 7-minute video. I listened to it while I was cleaning my bathroom last night. That's how I do my research, okay? And he then talks about how the NDP basically told him to, keep his mouth shut about what he saw because he actually did see Wab Kinew, pull him in and, kind of get physical with him. And I think that's just so alarming. And it's not lost on me that the 2 times I've seen somebody get physical in Parliament or, hear about that is Justin Trudeau and his little elbow gate, okay? Where he very visibly should not have been doing that anyways. For him to elbow a woman like that in the chest, you shouldn't ever be putting your hands on anybody. I don't know what kind of freak show they think that they're in, but you can't physically intimidate people in the legislature, okay? I don't know where they think we live, but that's not how we do things here, okay? Just want to say that. And remind you guys once again of what the left would say and do if that was somebody who was a conservative candidate. And I will say that in the future, I could definitely see a time where people would be voting for the federal government either being Wab Kinew or Doug Ford. And God, please help us if that's ever the case, because I don't know what's going on here, but I hope you guys all have enough pattern recognition to know that when they're trying to confuse us, when they're gaslighting us, when that they are trying to hold PierrePoilievre more accountable than the actual government who has committed the crimes, and they want to hold PierrePoilievre more accountable for pointing that out. Something fishy, and then within the next week, this all happens, and this seems, Doug Ford outs that MarkCarney knew about this. MarkCarney knew that this was upsetting Trump, and instead of saying, how about we spend the $75 million, somewhere else. Now we're finding out that Brookfield has a nuclear investment, which makes me so unbelievably mad. I just heard this news just now, okay? And not only is nuclear, part of their green thing, and it actually does produce a lot of energy, why are they investing in America? Not even Canada gets that? What is going on here? Every single day, I don't know about you guys, but every single day I wake up, I feel more and more like we're in some sort of show and we are just some side characters. And until we actually stand up and say enough is enough, okay, we want accountability. For the longest time, I begged for an election, though. I begged for an election. That's all I wanted for so long, was just an election, because I truly thought that Canadians would not make this mistake twice. But the truth is, it's not even that Canadians have made this mistake twice. I saw through Justin Trudeau. I didn't want him to get in, okay? And, it's not even that we've made this mistake twice. You guys are right. It's 10 times. We made the mistake of voting in Justin Trudeau. We were so convinced that we needed some sunny ways, something better than what we had. When I look back at the time of Canada from Stephen Harper being in, it was some of the worst times in my life, and I was able to get ahead and, make something of myself. That is no longer the case in the Canada that we knew and loved, okay? And so when they're pulling these things, make sure you guys are looking at this from every single angle. Something is clearly going on. They confused us last year with all of the proroguing of the government, Chrystia Freeland not agreeing to the budget, but the budget being proposed by MarkCarney and Justin Trudeau, and then endorsing MarkCarney, and then actually coming back and running for office again, despite knowing that Trump didn't want her there. And I guarantee that we got an election because something was said, like, this is my guess, that something was said to Justin Trudeau when he went down there for the inauguration, or whenever it was that he went down there. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. I had to look at the ground a lot because I don't have glasses that are my prescription. So, and I've re-recorded this so many times. So if you're wondering, okay, and next we're going to be talking about David Eby. Whew. Since David Eby and Christy Clark and all of the NDP and Liberal switch-ups there have completely gotten rid of British Columbia jobs, especially the logging and sawmills, okay, you would think that they would try their hardest to get this contract to be a Canadian company that builds this Not only for the fact that we need jobs in Canada, but, it's probably more environmentally sound to build these over here. I don't know, just a thought. Okay, so we're on to Doug Ford, which lots is happening in Ontario. Hold on. Let's play this.
The government, meantime, wants to get rid of fixed election dates and increase annual campaign donation limits. Ontario Attorney General Doug Downey says they want to do away with, quote, American-style set election dates so the province would be better positioned to deal with changing circumstances and external threats. Even with the fixed system, governments could call elections sooner than planned, as the Premier did earlier this year. Also,
okay, so, how about no? All right. Hello, if there's one thing I like about America, it's their fixed election dates. It's actually that you have a date in the horizon that you can look forward to. Okay? What a crock of crap. Did you hear that? We want to sway away from American style politics, and we're going to embrace no fixed elections. Give me a break. And then, like I said earlier, I believe I said this earlier, using the same sort of commercial that CCP did, which doesn't surprise me because you guys saw my video about how the Liberal government, allegedly copied My Chemical Romance's literal propaganda that they used and called propaganda in the Black Parade musical concert that I went to this summer, okay? So it's no surprise to me. What's a surprise to me is all of the changes that are going to be happening in Ontario because Doug has a super majority. I honestly think if there's one thing the right and the left can agree on, it is that we want another election in Ontario and we want a better option. What do we do? I have to stick up for Ontarians right now because we have no option, guys. We have no option. Everybody is crapping and dogging on Ontario right now because we just voted Doug Ford. Please understand that, not even half of our province came out to vote because there was no option. Okay, there was no different option. The NDP and the Liberal candidates did not stand out whatsoever, okay? We still have mandates in Ontario. Would love to know some potential. Who gains from that? Who gains from us not being able to have a doctor in our town because he refuses to get to those things, okay? He refused to give up. I'm sure you guys know Dr. Phillips, okay? He refused to give the names in our community up, okay? Props to him. But we have so many less doctors in our community because of these mandates. And how dare you? Okay, how dare you guys call yourselves, conservatives and want people to have the freedom to make decisions for their body and take that away from people and cause us to have a lot less health care, by the way, okay? And here's the thing is that the media has been low-key calling them out, but do you think they're sticking on these things the way that they stuck on Pierre for wanting to, hold people accountable for embezzling our money? Are they acting the exact same way? I don't know if you guys think about this, I'm about to have a PierrePoilievre 2025 flag that I can reuse. And that election wasn't even in the winter. It was in the spring. I am so unbelievably worried that Canadians are that insane to not see through this quite obvious, because I can't remember who I was watching, and they predicted that that MarkCarney will call an election, him and Trump will magically get a deal during this said election, okay, and then they'll win the super majority. If Canadians are that stupid, okay, and I don't mean any ill will by that, okay, because I was on the left, I understand, but I don't know how much cognitive dissonance that our left-leaning people in Canada can live in before they snap out of this. I am actually not kidding. How can you sit there and pretend that our federal government doesn't have a say in how insanely crappy our lives are? I seen somebody say, politics doesn't affect your life in the slightest, does it? Yes, it does. I can barely afford groceries because they have put through policies to make sure that we are broke. What part of you will own nothing and be happy do you guys on the left not understand? Does that seem like it's a conspiracy theory at this point in the year of 2025 going on year 2026? I'm sorry, how many people my age who waited to buy a house and waited to have kids, how many of you can't do those two things because of the economy right now? Because nothing is affordable on purpose. This is a well-orchestrated plan. And you know what? If you really cared about Canadian businesses during 2020, when 120,000 alone in Ontario were shutting down, you would have stopped the mandates, understood how much of an impact that this is going to have on the economy, people's mental health, people's physical freaking health. Okay, asking everybody to sacrifice themselves and set themselves on fire to keep you guys warm. I really hope that Canadians grow out of this mentality, because you don't have to do that. We lived in an environment that was inclusive, diverse, and equitable, okay? Don't let them tell you that they didn't give supports to single moms, because I was a single mom. I was a person with disabilities. I thrived in the Canada that was, okay? I was able to overcome all of the BS that I went through. And it still amazes me that those were the best years financially. Like, I would say, in regards to how little hope I have for the future of this country, from 2008, 2006 to 2000, whenever Harper was done, I look at Canada and those were the most affordable years of our lives, despite us being in not so great of a place financially. Okay. We had hope. We were able to buy our house in 2017 because the economy wasn't completely crap. Okay, we were able to have the Canadian dream before it was chopped off. Okay, and every single sector of our country is doing this to us. Municipality and their stupid property taxes that are out of this world for what we don't get, by the way. Okay, provincially, Doug, you're a conservative. You're supposed to be cutting the taxes in the province. Okay, you're supposed to be at least the bare minimum. Like, I don't remember a time genuinely that I had a hard time accessing healthcare prior to, I would say, Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau. And I'm sure it's a mix of both policies from provincial and the federal level, but it's got to stop. This has to stop. Okay, we have to put our foots down and say, our feet down and say enough is enough. We pay you guys. You guys listen to us. Okay? I would love for real capitalism to come back, because, by the way, I had a video taken down. I almost have my TikTok taken down again, because I said if all roads of socialism, communism, capitalism lead to the 1% spying on us and owning us, I don't want any part of it, and we need to come up with a better plan than this. It has never been more obvious to me, and because I have children, the left did a good job of making me feel guilty for having children, and as much as I don't, believe that it's because of the climate, it is because of what our government is about to do to us. Okay, and I feel guilty for bringing kids into that type of world, so that is why I'm here using my voice. I can't do much else. I have 3 kids, disabilities, what have you, so that's why I'm here. And if you've made it this far, thank you guys for listening so much. And guys, I want to talk about yesterday. So I had a video ready, and if you're here, thank you for listening. If you want to listen to this, you can. If you don't want to, this isn't going to be anything about the premieres, but I had one of my favorite creators block me, and I made a video talking about it, and I still stand on what I say. I just think I was a little too emotional to upload it. Okay, that's why I didn't, because I didn't want to start beef. But I do think it's important to listen to people that disagree with you, especially because, okay, this person was my top rated podcast that I listen to every single year for the last 3 years. And she blocked me because I asked her why, instead of watching somebody and thinking critically about it, which is what she normally tells us to do. She told us to block this person, don't even listen to it, and all of these different things about the Charlie Kirk situation. And I was just simply asking, is there something you know? Is there something I don't know? Like, normally you're telling us to think critically. All of a sudden you're telling us to mute people. I think everybody, the whole point is that she's talked about having, a voice and being able to talk during the Panini press when no one else was saying the things that she was saying. Well, this, to me, when everybody's going against a narrative, okay, I tend to look at the person who they're telling me not to listen to. Okay. And that's what led me to her. Right. So for her to block me after nicely, I literally said in my tweet, I want to know your opinions. I need to know your thoughts and opinions because I'm confused by what you're telling us right now. And then she said something and called me Sherlock and blocked me. And I'm just like, there's Gord on my list. Okay. Hi, Gord, if you're here. And we disagree about a lot, but we also agree and we see the humanity in each other, I believe. And I value that. Okay. I value having difference of opinion. I actually think that's what was beautiful about Canada before Trudeau was in, was that we all had different opinions and we could have them and not hate each other. Okay. And so, yeah, I didn't upload that video just because I thought that I was a little too emotional. But thank you guys for being understanding, okay? Once I get a studio, like once I get an area where you guys can't hear my kids stomping around, once I make more money and can invest more in my office space, okay? I've almost been doing this a whole year. And I don't make too much money. And right now, what I do make has to go towards groceries. But I just want to let you guys know I will always try my best to put out 5 episodes a week. Okay. And I would do more. I would love to cover little segments in shorter times and upload those. However, I'm still, I got to make sure my house is clean. I got to make sure Halloween's ready for my kids. Basically, what I'm saying is sometimes my family has to come first. And I know that you guys know that's a good thing, okay? Because that's what we stand for here when we're conservative, right? So just to let you guys know, I don't want to make excuses, but sometimes it's just, I really want to be careful of what I put out these days because of what, the government and their little watchdogs, all right? So I got to make sure that I'm not being too emotional because I don't want to put out stuff and just go viral for being, angry or sad or, or starting beef with people. I don't want that. And I truly did want to talk about more than just Doug Ford because the video yesterday was Doug Ford and this person blocking me. And I was kind of just in a bad mood because it was my first time going to the dentist. Now I'm in a better mood in years. And it just pissed me off that I had to wait that long because of Canada and its joke of everything going to complete crap. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to tell you guys that. And, and my teeth were rotting out of my head. Okay, this is my secret. My teeth were rotting out of my head when I was vegan. I didn't tell anybody, not even my husband, because I was so scared. And what happened was I started having vitamin or calcium, okay, from milk when I started eating meat again and cheese and drinking milk and all of those different things. So calcium, flossing, I do use regular toothpaste. Okay, I don't use the F-free one. I wish I could, but I just don't trust my teeth to be clean. Okay, I don't trust them. They're also trying to make money off of me. So I've just kind of stuck with that. However, I do use like all natural mouthwash. I use all natural floss. And I chew xylitol gum and I oil pull. And apparently, okay, my teeth went from feeling like they were going to rot out of my head. It hurt so much every single day when I was vegan. I don't know how I did it, okay? To only having 2 cavities after so long of not getting my teeth taken care of because we didn't have money because it's not covered in Canada, just to let you know. And they pretend that we have all of these great things for the amount of taxes that they take, but we don't always. So anyways, guys, thanks for being so understanding, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you think about everything that I said, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.